Hi, and welcome to Health Talks. Today we're going to talk about the organic debate. What is organic food and how does it interact with conventional food? We hope to debunk some myths and highlight and expose the mysteries around what organic food is. So Nat, what's the organic food in your life? How does that look like?
Organic food plays a really big role in my life, and it's something that I guess it took a little while to get to that point, though I slowly changed the way that we were eating over a period of time until it actually just became part of what we do. And, I feel when I first started doing that, I did feel that it was, there was a bit of a shift in cost. But as I've gone along and done that, we just factor it in now. And with that comes better health. So it's, where you might spend a little bit more in one area, you kind of come back and go, well, we never go to the doctor. We never need to go and have, certain medicines. And so the cost doesn't then become such a big issue. What do you find, Jess?
I'm exactly the same because my organic food is basically my medicine. I did totally opposite. I went from eating all conventional food to being diagnosed with cancer to eating only organic food in a really short amount of time. And so not only was that a shock to my diet, but it was a really big shock to my bank account. To my parents' bank account, because they were the ones who sort of took me in and cared for me while I was going through my treatment. And we were spending, with 4 of us eating organic all week, we were spending a ridiculous amount of money. But the thing is that we had to look at that and go, okay, well, we're not going to the doctor anymore, so there goes that cost. I'm also saving my life, which is a massive cost.
Massive cost.
Invaluable.
Yeah, invaluable. Also, my parents are healing. Well, my mum has breast cancer, so she also eats organic to heal her body. But my dad has cleared up so many ailments that he had, my boyfriend as well. So it's just been...
Yeah, and it's really true.
Really
I find that in our
invaluable.
household too. My first child had quite bad skin conditions, eczema. She never had the asthma to go with it, thankfully. But with Geordie, my second child, there's nothing. There's none of that going on, and our diet has completely changed in that time. So I think it has definitely made a really big difference. What do you find, Sam?
Well, I've noticed it's now 13 years since I've been involved in the organic industry, and when I launched my organic cooking school here in Melbourne, we're in Melbourne today, a lot of people would tease me, my classes were called Don't Panic, It's Organic. and people like Matt Preston back in the day, when I'd come along, he'd say, oh, here comes the Don't Panic, It's Organic cooking lady, ha, 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 organic food. This is going back to 2000, maybe 1999 and beyond. And now that organics has come into the mainstream, it's very, very accepted, isn't it? And certainly in the marketplace, literally in the markets in Melbourne, it's very accepted. What I noticed was the shift as the prices came down and the crops became more available and the products became more available, that obviously the price point was regulated slightly. But I guess what concerns me is the amount of processed and packaged organic food versus what we can buy fresh organic food. And a lot of our organic food is uncertified, so it's just labelled organic. You can call anything organic. We can call a conventional beetroot organic, even though it's not. So certification is something that is really important, and we have a couple of different certifying bodies in Australia. But a lot of that produce, or product I should say, is coming in from overseas, and that's where I like to red flag it a bit. It's like, why not buy, let's use an example of local strawberries grown within 25 kilometres of your home compared to what's been shipped in from overseas, or an organic muesli that's coming from overseas to a locally made small yield conventional boutique muesli, as an example.
That also comes back to you being part of your environment and what suits you in your environment.
Right.
So something that's coming from outside of that is actually not going to be of value to you really in comparison to something that's in your local environment.
Would you be better off just avoiding strawberries though if they're not in season? Because I know berries are very heavily sprayed. That's one of the ones that I'm told to totally stay away from. So would it be better just to, if it's not strawberry season, just to avoid strawberries altogether, so you're not eating them from the other side of the world?
I employ a slower principle, and that is seasonal, local, organic, whole foods, ethically produced and regional. So it may be one or all of those, at least one of them. And I find that if you do that, if you're eating local and it's not organic or it's conventional, as you said, Nat, you're getting all the mineral content and all the vitamin component, plus the abundance of what your surrounding environment has to offer. And you're absorbing that obviously into your system, as opposed to having something just because it's organic that's been shipped and shelf ripened.
Yeah, and the
which
other
is a
thing
big
too
thing.
is that is important, I think, just as you say that with the nutrient levels in something that is organic as opposed, because that's the appealing
Yes.
thing, isn't it? We need to come back to, there has been discussion around, well, is organic actually better? Is it more nutrient rich?
Yes.
The fact is, we know that it's less toxic, and
Yes.
that's going to lead to other ramifications. So always coming back to what's as close to nature as possible is key. But with doing that, you need less because it has everything that you need nutritionally as well. So you don't need to eat more food to be satisfied. And then you find with that, if you were, say, overweight, for example, you might find that your body just gently shifts back to where it wants to be or where it should be.
Yeah. We should also mention about the soil that conventional produce is grown is completely depleted in all of the minerals that we need, whereas organic produce, it has all of those minerals. So I really don't see how people can say that conventional food is not as good for you as organic, is as good for you as organics, because it really doesn't compare when you look at it logically.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
And we know that literally the soils of conventional produce has been sterilised.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't, the nutrient...
It's void, isn't it?
Well, it's
Completely.
questionable, isn't
Yes,
it?
yes,
We
it
don't
is.
really know.
Yes.
But let's think about that logically. Something that's grown in a sterile soil as opposed to something that's grown in a nutrient-rich soil, that's how that nutrients gets put into that food. So it is very important to consider that, and that's key when it comes to eating.
There was a
healthy.
research study that came out just a couple of years ago about what do consumers look for, why do they buy organic, and ultimately the predominant amount, more than 50%, said it's for taste.
Wow.
More than anything, packaging, how it affects us,
Taste a tomato that's conventional and taste an organic tomato. They don't taste the same.
Yeah. Same with apples.
Yeah.
Apples from I don't want to say.
strawberries.
Yeah, apples and strawberries from a supermarket taste flowery and just because at the end of the year we seem to run out of apples, and because I do up to 13 juices a day sometimes,
Of course you do.
it's having no apples is a nightmare. So when this first happened, we went to Woolworths and we bought a conventional apple, thinking we could just peel it and put it through. But my Gerson doctors told me, no, don't you dare do that. You're better off just leaving the apples out. Because I looked at this apple and it was shiny, like it was coated in a wax, and it smelt like a chemical, and it just looked absolutely nothing like an organic apple.
No, that's right.
Yeah, so you can't, and that's the other thing, you can't just wash this produce and wash the pesticides
No,
off.
it's inside.
It's inside the
Well,
fruit
it's
and
cellular,
vegetables.
like
Yeah.
us, and they absorb that into the absolute bones of their cellular
Yeah.
self. And I think that's the misnomer in the community, is that we can just wash off the toxicity off that spinach, for example. But any broadleaf vegetable and broad skin fruit, like a strawberry, as you say, and an apple, has a greater surface area, so it's going to absorb the toxicity just as much as something that is small clustered.
Yeah.
And I think that's really, that to me is the most convincing argument for buying organic produce versus conventional produce. But I know that there are people out there who still love their conventional.
Yeah. With diseases and stuff, like you look at the rate that diseases have climbed over the years, it's in direct proportion with the amount of chemicals that we've introduced into our food with all of these sprays. But we should also say that the Environmental Working Group have a list, don't they, of foods that you can get away with buying conventional because they don't have as many chemicals or as harsher chemicals compared to the foods that you should definitely buy organic. And we'll put a link to that list under this video because it's really good to take shopping with you.
That'd be great. So we'd love to invite you to give us your feedback and your comments if you've had experiences from being in transition from being a conventional shopper into an organic shopper, or what is your proportion of how much organic produce do you actually stock up on each week versus your conventional intake. We'd love to hear from you. So drop us a line, fill out the comment form at the bottom of this clip, and we'll hear from you soon.